In today's episode of Willful, we spoke with David Mackett, an actor, carpenter, and co-founder of Toronto's Fly on the Wall Theatre. Hi, David. Thank you for joining us today at the Merchant Tavern.
Pleasure to be here, Alison.
So I'm wondering, how did a guy with a master's in zoology end up telling stories on the stage with a very thick Irish accent?
Boy, it probably goes back to high school, I would say. That was when I had my first experience being in a play, and it really sort of took hold there. My love for doing theater, my excitement in doing theater, and but it was always sort of there was always a bit of a conflict, I suppose. You know, the idea of you have to have something to fall back on, and I viewed being in plays as a hobby, more or less, and I was pretty good in science in school, so I went in that direction in university. And as it turned out, the job in the lab, I was laid off because research funds were cut, and I was sort of bouncing around. I was living in London, Ontario at the time, and I was working as a bartender at the grad student pub at Western. And there was an English professor who I'd done a couple of plays with, and he was always on me, you know, come on, why don't you come out and audition for a play on? And I was like, no, you know, again, my focus is elsewhere. But finally, I suppose I broke down and said, sure. And I really rediscovered my passion for theater, and then the seed was planted. It's like, well, you're not doing much as a biologist. Why not try this avenue? And I always joke that I went from a career with not very high prospects to a career with fewer prospects. So I don't know what that says about me. But I started taking some classes, and all of a sudden I guess it rekindled my passion for theater. And so I sort of took a bit of a gamble, and I applied for theater school.
Yeah.
I got in, and then things sort of took off from there. And
did you stay in London, or did you go to Toronto or Montreal?
When I first started taking classes, I was commuting back and forth from London to Toronto, so I was based in London. Mm-hmm. And still working as a bartender. And I'd come in once a week, and do a class at Equity Showcase Theatre, and sort of progressed, you know, did maybe 3 or 4 workshops. And then that's when it was like, it sort of clicked. And I remember my instructor at the time said, you know, if you're really serious about this, you should pursue it full time as opposed to doing it part time. And so that sort of triggered me into applying for theater school in New York. And again, it was a bit of I didn't expect anything to come of it. I sent in my application. I was a late applicant. The deadline had passed, so I just, you know, said in my application letter that I realized I was past the deadline. Here's my application fee. You know, if nothing comes of it, just take my application fee as a donation to the school.
Wow, you said that.
Yeah. and so I'm trying to remember the exact sequence, but it wasn't, you know, I think I mailed it one week, and then the next week I got a call saying, we'd like to see you in New York for an audition. And that was on a Thursday, and I found myself in New York City on the Monday following Monday,
Yeah.
auditioning for Circle and Square Theatre School.
A lot of actors talk about that first intoxicating moment when they make an audience laugh or go silent with emotion. What was your first moment?